What's going on, my friend? You are listening to Real English Radio, the only podcast you need to learn real spoken English in a practical way. I am your host, Tony Kaizen, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about a little bit of American culture. Because as your linguistic guide, I feel a sense of responsibility to teach you not only the language, but also the culture that comes with the language. Because I'm a firm believer in the idea that it's very difficult to separate language from culture because our culture dictates how we use the language with each other, right? Because you have the language itself, the group of words, the sentence structure that one should use, and prepositions and phrasal verbs, all the details, all the little parts that come together to make the overall machine, let's say. But still, we determine how the machine gets used on a day to day basis. And that's culture. That's why you go out to California and people talk and interact in a certain way. And then you go over to New Jersey and you feel like you're in a different country. They're speaking the same language, but they don't speak it in the same way. That's culture. And that's any language, anywhere you go. Spoken language is, I believe, almost 100% dictated by the culture of the people that are speaking the language. And I think a lot of English learners just either are unaware of the importance of culture or they disregard it or they assume they understand stuff that they don't really understand. So they make a lot of, not mistakes, but they do a lot of things that culturally might leave the wrong impression on a native speaker. And so to kind of make it more clear, I'll give you an example. The real subject of today's episode. One of the most commonly asked and famous questions in American English is how are you? Or how you doing? How's it going? You've probably heard this hundreds, if not thousands of times when talking to natives or listening to podcasts or watching a movie or something like that. When you walk into a room, especially strangers, or you're walking down the street, you walk into a restaurant, somebody will probably say, "Hello, how are you?" Or "Hey, how you doing?" It's very, very common. And whether you know this or not, I'm going to tell you the question is not meant to be taken literally, especially when you're just greeting someone. You're just saying hello, especially when it's a stranger. They're not really asking you, "How are you doing? Tell me your life story. Tell me all the difficulties you're experiencing these days." Because they don't care. They do not care. Okay. So if somebody asks you, "Hey, how you doing?" You don't need to actually tell them how you're doing. It's just the American way of saying hello. Why we do that, I have absolutely no idea. But that's just what we do. You see somebody, whether you know them or not, you make eye contact. The polite thing to do, in my humble opinion, other Americans might disagree with this, but in most places I've been a lot of places in this country, it's just you see somebody, you acknowledge them. "Hey, how you doing? What's up? How's it going?" Something like that. And a lot of times it involves that question, "How are you?" And again, I'm being repetitive, but we're not asking how you're doing really. The only thing you should say when somebody asks you, "Hey, how's it going? How you doing?" "Good. What about you?" That's it. Nothing more. You don't need to say anything else, bro, because again, we're just saying hello. So, "Hey, how you doing?" "I'm pretty good. How about you?" "I'm doing all right. What about you?" That's it. That's all you need to do. Very simple, very straightforward. It's the same thing as somebody saying hello, and then you also say hello. It's the same thing. The same exact thing. Now, it's not a mistake, but the cultural misunderstanding that happens a lot when I get new students or when I talk to foreigners online and stuff like that. A lot of people, when I ask them, "How are you? How you doing today?" They'll say, "I'm fine," and then nothing else. They don't return the question. And I personally don't take offense to it, but again, as your linguistic guide, as your cultural guide, I feel the need to tell you this is not the best way to respond to that question, especially with a stranger, especially like in a meeting or an interview or some type of situation where you're going to sit down and actually have a conversation with this person. It's not the best way to respond. You know, if you're in the street and this person's walking past you and they say, "Hey, how you doing?" "Hey, how you doing?" Like you don't necessarily have to return the question. Let me slow down and try to make it more clear. Let's imagine you're walking down the street and you say hello first to that person. that person might say to you, how you doing? You don't necessarily have to say good, how are you, as they walk past you. Saying hello is enough, right? You see this person? Hello. And instead of saying hello, they might say, how you doing? That's their way of returning the greeting hello. And you guys can keep walking, go on about your life. But in a situation like we're going to sit down and I'm going to give you an English lesson, or you're in a job interview, or you're on some video conference, if somebody asks how you doing, you say, I'm fine. What about you? How about you? You return the question, because the question, how are you, with a stranger or at the beginning of a conversation is just a gesture of politeness or respect or courtesy. That's our way of establishing that we are on equal ground. Hey, how you doing? I'm good. How about you? I'm fine. All right. Now we begin. So when you skip that step, if I ask, hey, how you doing? And then you say, I'm fine, and you just sit there looking at me, like I answered your question, what's next? It just sends the wrong message. It leaves a bad impression on the person you're speaking with, because again, we're just saying hello. So when you don't return the question, it feels like, I don't want to say arrogance, but it's almost like, what? You think you're too good to return a simple gesture of courtesy, or what? Like, is there a problem here? Do we have some type of issue that I'm not aware of? Are you in a bad mood this morning? Like, what's going on? Why can't you return this simple courtesy? Like, it's just, you start on the wrong foot. That's really what I'm trying to say when you don't return that simple gesture. It's the same thing as you saying hello, or excuse me, it's the same thing as me saying hello and you just like ignore me. That's what it feels like. And you may think it doesn't make sense. Like, why would somebody ask me how I'm doing if they don't really want to know? Or why do I have to return the question? That's stupid. If that's what you think, that's fine. I'm just trying to explain the culture, because I know that you would rather have positive interactions than negative ones. So this is a simple thing you can do to make sure you start on the right foot with people you don't know very well. So again, you sit down on a video conference call. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing today? I'm doing fine. How about you? All right. It's very simple, but a lot of people make this, it's not a mistake, but a lot of times this cultural misunderstanding happens. A lot of people misunderstand the question, how are you? It's just a simple gesture of politeness. And when somebody asks you, it's only polite that you return the question. How you doing? I'm good. What about you? I'm good. All right. Now let's get down to business. Don't skip that step, man, because you can't take back a bad impression. You can't go back in time and fix it. So if the first time you meet somebody, you set the wrong tone, they ask you how you're doing and you just say, I'm fine, and you just look at them, even if they don't say anything, even if you don't see a reaction on their face, I can guarantee the majority, maybe not everyone, but the majority of people in a situation like that, internally, they feel like, what the fuck? Is there a problem here? You know what I mean? It just sets the wrong tone. It just sets the wrong tone. And then the rest of the conversation will be affected by the first step you took, which was the wrong one. You see what I'm saying? So to just avoid that simple cultural misunderstanding, to avoid ruining a potentially great conversation or relationship, partnership, or whatever, just respect the culture, man. This is just the way we do things in the US of A. Somebody asks you how you doing, typically the acceptable response is, I'm good. What about you? I'm fine. How about you? I'm good. Thanks for asking. That's it. Super simple, you know? And then another thing that you might notice is that people might ask you twice. So in a situation where it's not a stranger, it's a friend or somebody you know a bit better than a stranger, again, at the beginning of the interaction, hey, how you doing? I'm good. How about you? Oh, I'm good. Blah, blah, blah. And then you start talking. Maybe a few minutes later, they'll say, so how are you doing? They'll ask you twice, and that might confuse you. You'll be like, didn't you already ask me that at the beginning of the conversation? Like, I told you I'm fine. But when they ask you the second time, now they really want to know, how are you doing? Because again, the first time they ask, it's just a greeting. It's just like saying hello. It's just that there's a bit of back and forth. It's like a 2 or 3 part hello. Hey, how you doing? I'm good. How you doing? I'm good. It just takes more than one exchange to finish the greeting. But after that's all over and we've finished the formalities, if they ask you again, they really want to know, how are you doing? And then you can tell them what's really going on in your life. They really want to know because they asked you twice. But at the beginning of an interaction, somebody asks how you doing, don't tell them how you're actually doing. You could be having the worst fucking day of your life. But if it's not somebody you know and trust, you don't tell them that. Say, I'm fine. How about you? I'm fine. Thanks for asking. And that's it. That's it, bro. It's just a polite, courteous greeting. How are you? How are you? How you doing? How's it going? How's it hanging? What's happening? What's cracking? What's popping? What's good? Any variation of the question, we're just saying hello. Okay? If they ask you again later in the conversation, then they really want to know. But that's just something that it's been happening a lot recently. So I figured I'd make an episode about it because it seems that people either don't understand or don't care about the cultural aspect of learning English, especially American English. And I just feel if I can help you understand the culture better, that will help you have better interactions with people of that culture. You see what I'm saying? So, in summary, I'm sure I've repeated myself many times, but I don't have any notes. I'm not reading a script today. I'm just freestyling. So, in summary, just remember to respect the culture. Try to be open to it. Try to understand why people do those things. And even if you don't like it or agree with it, or you don't think that it makes sense, that's fine. But the point of communicating with other people is to arrive at some point with that person. And so why not give yourself the best possible chance to get where you want to go in this interaction, right? Why not do that? I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. And I'm just trying to tell you, it really leaves a poor impression. It comes across as rude or impolite or even slightly arrogant if somebody greets you and says, "Hello, how you doing?" and you just say, "I'm fine." It's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Automatically, I'm like, I don't really even want to talk to this person anymore because either they're in a bad mood or there's some type of problem they have with me personally. And I don't even fucking know you. So, like, why? What the fuck, bro? I just ask how you doing. You can't just return. You know what I mean? Maybe it doesn't make sense to somebody who's not from here, but that's I guess that's all I got for you today, my friend. Let me know if you're subscribed on Patreon in the comments if this makes any sense, or shoot me a DM on Instagram, not TikTok. Um, Let me know what you guys think, because I know in other cultures maybe this isn't the most common thing to do, so it might be kind of weird for you, and maybe nobody's ever told you this before. Maybe nobody's ever said anything, but I can guarantee a lot of people, even if they don't say something, it's just automatically you just feel that there's a problem when somebody doesn't return the courtesy. And I think that's universal. Whatever your form of courtesy is in your culture, in your country, if you extend your hand to somebody, literally or figuratively, like metaphorically speaking, and they don't also extend their hand to greet you, they don't grasp your hand and shake it, so to speak, it's like, the fuck, bro? Like, what's the problem? You know, I don't even know you. How could we possibly have a problem this early in the relationship when we're just now meeting or we just started the conversation, you know? So immediately we're thinking, like, is there a problem here? Like, what's going on, bro? The fuck? So the next time somebody asks, "Hey, how you doing?" you can respond by saying, "I'm doing good. How about you?"